What is a shader graph and how do you use it? To create a shader graph, we go to create, we go down to shader graph, and we go to URP. We can choose from the list of different types of shaders. For this tutorial, we're going to choose a lit shader graph. You can name that graph whatever you want. We're going to name ours sample shader. Once you've named your shader graph, it will open up to this screen where you can see these two boxes. We have our vertex box and we have our fragment box. The vertex box is broken up into three sections, those being position, normal, and tangent. The position controls where the vertex physically exists in 3D space, and a common use would be making a flag wave in the wind or creating water waves. The normal box is an invisible arrow pointing straight outward from a vertex. It tells the engine which way a particular part of a mesh is facing. A common use for this would be smoothing out low poly models or intentionally distorting lights or stylized effects. The tangent section is another directional arrow, but it points flat along the surface of a mesh, following the direction of its UV map. It works together with the normal to calculate how light interacts with bumps and scratches on your mesh. You rarely need to use this part unless you are doing like a highly advanced vertex warping effect. After the vertices are calculated, the space between them is filled with pixels. The fragment runs once for every pixel that the material takes up on the screen. This is where you define the surface appearance, color, and texture for your shader. The base color is the pure raw color of your object without any shadows or lighting applied. Common uses are plugging your main diffuse texture or a solid color into this part. The normal or tangent space, unlike the vertex normal that changes the actual geometry's facing direction, the fragment normal uses a texture to fake high resolution bumps, dents, and scratches on a flat surface. So you would use that for like adding brick mortar grooves or fabric weave textures or even pores on skin of your model. The metallic tells the engine if the material is metal or non-metal, and it basically just makes things look more or less metallic based on the value you have there between 0 and 1. Smoothness controls how rough or polished a surface is. It makes things either really shiny at 1 or rough and matte at 0. The emission makes the material glow in the dark. Any color plugged into it will emit its own light. If you multiply the color by a high number, it will cause a bloom effect around your object, which you could use to make like neon signs, glowing eyes, or even like a glowing energy blade of some sort. Ambient occlusion takes a grayscale matte to fake soft ambient shadows in the deep crevices of a model. You would use this for darkening the inside of a character's nostrils, deep folds in clothing, or the corner of a room. You can also create and assign different variable types into your shader graph, which will be publicly accessible via the inspector in your project when you create a material from this shader graph.